Gamebreaker TV.
What's up, aliens? It's GuildCast episode 33 for July 25th, 2012. I'm Gary again. This is Gamebreaker.tv. Coming up today, just 1 month to go. We've got plenty to talk about from this weekend's beta event. Scott Hawks answers the question, have guilds been fixed? And John Peters talks balance. All that, and plus, of course, your viewer questions. But first, Mr. Scott Hawks, how are you, sir?
I'm doing very well. How are you?
Good. Glad you're still alive after the weekend.
Just about, yes.
Shake weight. And from Massively.com, it's Elizabeth Claire. How are you?
I'm doing very well. How are you?
I am doing fantastic. Shake weight. And, of course, also from Massively.com and also Gamebreaker TV writer, Richie Procopio. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. 1 month left. Woo!
1 month left.
Come on.
And shake weight. All right, so the beta weekend is over. So yes, we have, like you said, we have exactly 1 month until launch, pretty much, if you count the head start. So I'm sure everybody's excited for that. So what do you guys think of this? Before we get into the Guild Wars 2 news, I wanted to bring up, we got a big announcement today. Blizzard just announced that the Mists of Pandaria is launching September 25th, exactly 1 month after Guild Wars 2's the Guild Wars 2 head start. I think this is nice. I mean, I actually, I don't know how you guys, what you guys think. I actually thought Blizzard was actually going to pull the trump card and actually go like the same week.
Yeah, I thought they'd do like a week after the original announcement. That's what I was expecting, so I'm glad there's a month of pad time.
Yeah, it's a month. It's a good month. And the interesting thing is with a month, like normally I would say, well, you know, month in is when everybody's got to contemplate that subscription fee. But no.
But you don't have to.
You don't have to, so.
Changes the game.
It does change the game a lot.
It's a game changer.
I mean, it's not a game breaker. I mean, for ArenaNet, World of Warcraft is definitely their biggest competition. It's like it is the huge monster that they want to take down. But yeah, the subscription thing kind of changes it a little bit and changes the perception. I don't know. Do you think MoP coming out a month later? I don't feel like the community at all, in the Guild Wars community, obviously, and even some of the on the outside maybe contemplating buying Guild Wars I don't think this is going to be a factor. Like, are you going to hold off? Maybe what I'm getting at is like, are you going to hold off not buy Guild Wars 2 because MoP's coming out?
No way. No, I mean, people are bored right now in World of Warcraft. They've been doing the same raid since last year.
November. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's just a long time to be on the same content. So Guild Wars coming out first. They'll buy it. They'll play it a ton in that month. Then Miss Pandaria comes out. They can play that, have fun, start raiding or whatever, and then you can have both games. The non-subscription thing totally changes it, and Guild Wars will always be there. And I don't think that ArenaNet has too much to worry about because they're gonna buy it up.
Anybody on the panel going to play both?
Yep.
Yes.
Pretty much everybody, myself included.
Yep. I'll be playing it mainly just to have a look at it. It's the first expansion that I'm not desperate for.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Same way.
I mean, this is the longest they've gone without content, Blizz, in between patches. The longest content patch gap. And by the time like Cataclysm was coming out, I was clamoring for it after doing Lich King for so long. But MoP, I'll be like, well, I want to see how it is and maybe look at how the rating is, and yeah.
Have any of you guys been paying much attention to the World of Warcraft community? I mean, do we see a lot of people from that community starting to really itch and get curious? For people who don't really know what Guild Wars 2 is, it started because now we're only a month out. So I imagine that the undercurrent is even growing and growing. That people are just like, what is all this hoopla about this Guild Wars 2 I've been hearing about?
I think a lot of people still stick to their, my game's the best and your game's bad and I don't want to talk about your game, sort of, binary approach to gaming, sort of fan-wise. But I know that people in the guilds I've been raiding with have asked me about, saying, is Guild Wars actually that good? Is it really? And chatty to me about it for a while. So people are interested, certainly. But your sort of hardcore WoW players, maybe on boards, and let's face it, people talking on boards is a lot different to people just talking. Will be quite vehement about it. But I can see a lot of people saying, well, again, Guild Wars 2, I can play it, no subscription, it means that I can play both games, and I don't have to feel torn about it at all.
Yeah, I think we're going to see a lot of people week 1, especially maybe for those for the WoW players out there who don't know about Guild Wars 2 yet. And then they have a guildie all playing and they jump in vent and they're like, oh, what are you playing? They're like, oh, I'm playing Guild Wars 2. What? Oh, Guild Wars 2, what's that? And it's like, hey, you should pick it up. There's no subscription fee. I think you're going to see a lot of people start flooding in after that. All right, let's talk about some Guild Wars 2. Forget about this pandas and Pokemon thing right now. All right. Let's talk about some Sylvari. I know everybody was waiting. The Asura and the Sylvari are the two big things that we got to check out in Beta Weekend Event 3. So let's be honest. I'm going to start with Elizabeth. How long did you spend in character creation?
I spent an extraordinarily long time in character
creation. Frame that. Is that 40 minutes? Is that an hour and 40 minutes? Because I know our producers spent like almost the entire weekend.
Yeah, so I made 2 different Sylvari, and I probably spent about half an hour a piece on them because they were very visually different. So just like toggling lights on and off and seeing what this glow looked like and how this headpiece interacted with the glow, and I spent a very long time in character creation.
Yeah, I spent a ton of time as well. And it was funny, what Elizabeth said about the glow effects. I spent a lot of time crafting a Sylvari, right? Every little detail. And I didn't know about the shut the light thing off. So as soon as I got in game, my face was glowing bright green. And I'm like, what is that? And I had to go back out to character creation. I'm like, oh, there's glow. Then I was spending even more time in character creation. Yeah, it's ridiculous, the amount of customization, especially the Sylvari, because the skin tones really can change everything. And I love the character creator in this. Every single race is unique. You can, you have the custom-made faces, which are really well done, but then the sliders can really change how those look. I'm in love with it. It's exactly what I like. And then you throw in the dyeing of the armor at the end of it, and it's ridiculous.
Armor. I thought everybody was just going to run nude. I saw a lot of cabbage butt running around in that first starting round.
It was so amusing.
It really was.
There were 3 main things as soon as I got in and started playing. Like I think I was in within the first minute or 2 of the servers because for some reason I've been hitting log in repeatedly. So I got in and there was 3 things that stood out. It was 1, you could make a Sylvari that was either incredibly pretty or incredibly alien and creepy, and it was really, I love that you could go with 2 sides of it. Then we were sitting talking in chat, and our producer was in chat as we were chatting, but anyway, and then, hold on, what's that light bulb? Ooh. And then you could see the glows, like, I'll spend some time on this. And then the 3rd thing was, and I tweeted on, mushroom sombrero, and I was delighted as soon as I saw that. You could have a mushroom, basically, hairstyle head, and
you could be raiding.
What did you guys think of the? What did you think of the Sylvari intro? I mean, how awesome was that dragon?
It was very cool.
Yeah, that plant boss. Plant
as a melee character, like my warrior was a little frustrating because you're sitting there like hacking at its claws, whereas when I went through later on a ranged character, I was like, oh, this feels more accurate because I'm like not right up close to it. But it was still an incredible encounter.
Yeah, I started letting off some fireballs on my elementalist, and it reared up, and its head was like right above my head as it come down. It just looks so good. So it's the coolest one of all the starter bosses, I think.
Let's talk about
I did like the Asura.
Let's talk about the starting zone a little bit, just in general. Like, obviously, a lot of naked Sylvari ass running around. I don't know. I almost thought it was a bug at first when I first saw it. I was like, "What's going on? Like, why is everybody running around in the nude?" And then I realized,
yeah, I feel like
born into the world.
For a split second before people saw like the quest saying get your armor from the dream, I feel a lot of people were like, that's a weird little glitch, because I mean, if there's any race you can get away with it, it's the Sylvari, but it was pretty humorous, because especially if you're coming out in the first wave of like all the hundreds of people creating Sylvari, so there's just a flock, like whatever, a grove, a garden, whatever, of just naked Sylvari standing, filling up your screen. It was pretty amusing.
I was watching one of Jasmine's streams, and she goes, "Oh, look, all the Sylvari are wearing their planties." I thought that was a great phrase for it.
Yeah.
So what do you guys think of the starting zone in general? Very glowy. Very, very glowy. Very full of life. Obviously, what did you guys think of like when you initially got in there?
I was gawping mainly, just looking up a lot, because the amount of detail as you just looked up in the sky and you see the different tiers of design, and then you'll see a huge tree, and then the sort of the crescendo of flowers and colour in it, and the movement of everything as well. It's not just sort of static and background. The detail and the sort of common sense, the logic of everything it's phenomenal. Like I've gone on about it before, but the sort of the craftsmanship that's gone into the design of every little piece of it, it's astounding. So Tom Veneration, as you'll see him on here, who does a lot of the graphical artwork for Gamebreaker, we were just talking about it and just basically just going, wow, and oh my god, and isn't that pretty?
Yeah, I don't think it's
5 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, whether the Sylvari starting area in general like speaks to the gamer or not, I think there's no denying that just the amount of detail is pretty staggering. I mean, the stained glass and the reflections of light and just everything how it affects is pretty amazing. And it's funny that we're talking about this because what's funny about this whole thing is that, so like for me personally, I when I got into the Sylvari area, I was like, wow, this looks beautiful. It's gorgeous. But it didn't speak to me as a gamer. Like, it wasn't, it was like, oh, this isn't my race. Like, this isn't my starting city. Like, it didn't, which is awesome, because I keep saying that this is one of the best things that the artists and the writers have done at ArenaNet, is they have made such clear divides by the different races and areas that there are some gamers are just going to really fall in love with, and then there's going to be some areas that you're just like, that really doesn't speak to me. But none of them are sort of like so gray that they're boring. Mm-hmm. That's what I think makes them so cool.
That's exactly how I feel about the Asura. Like, I played more of the Asura this beta weekend than the Sylvari, because I just wanted to see what it was like. And I thought everything was really well done. The starting city looked amazing. I love their personalities, the story and everything, but it doesn't actually just, that technical babble that, kind of like mad scientists inventing kind of thing, that doesn't speak to me as a gamer. So it's great that it's there, because there's plenty of people that eat that stuff up, but to me that's not my thing. So I agree with you. That's really cool that they're so diverse and they draw different people to it.
So without spoiling any of the story and the personal story for anybody, what do you guys think of the Sylvari personal story? Did it capture you, Scott?
I only did a tiny bit of the Sylvari story, because I'm going with Sylvari as my main at launch, so I wanted to keep a lot of that. But yeah, just the way it introduced you, get off with Kate straight away, so you got big character in there, to the recognizable one to anybody who's like into the lore at all, which I'm becoming. When I actually got up to walk up to the pale tree, and this is sad, it tells you how much lore, I kind of geeked out for a minute. And that was a disturbing moment for me to some extent.
I'm so proud.
I really did. I walked up and there was the tablet, and next to the, it's a pale tree, and I went running up and sort of had a conversation, and I was like, and then after a bit, I just went, oh, you sad git.
You may be an RPer, sir.
I'm so proud.
It was borderline one of those moments, I have to say.
It sounds like it. I hear it in your voice.
It was, yeah.
That's awesome, though. I mean, isn't that what that is the other thing about this game too? Like, and even the Sylvari area, when I run around it, the exploration is just unbelievable, because you just constantly, like I said, I think the first beta weekend that I even got in when I played a Char, everybody was like, "What'd you do? Did you quest? Did you do this? Did you do that?" And I'm like, kind of ran around for about 2 or 3 hours. Just I was like, what's behind this little corridor? What's appeared? What's over there? And it's been so long since an MMO has made me want to do that. Like, just the sense of wonder.
When I ran into the grove and I came to the, you come to the shimmering bits, it's your elevator lift, and you're like, oh, and then you hit it and it's a seed pod. Mm-hmm. I'm just like, oh, well played, sir. Well done. You know what I mean? It's just, it looks great. and it's logical, and it fits into, if everything just fits. You look up and you're seeing the pale tree, like the main trunk of it and everything. And maybe it's because of WoW, and you're used to seeing just a stock, static, big background. And then you look up in this, and there's huge white petals, and each one moves independently and sways. There's the leaves underneath are like 30 foot wide, but they're all moving independently and swaying. It all just looks organic and moving and living and breathing, and it's staggering. It really is.
Liz, I know you're chomping at the bit to get in here and jump in. What'd you think of the personal story?
I didn't play any Sylvari personal story, and I didn't explore the Sylvari area at all. I explored the home tree thoroughly. I spent my entire time on a Sylvari character, but I was almost entirely in the Asura area because I want that to be all special and untouched.
Look at the restraint you guys were holding up. Oh my
I'm very
god!
proud of myself.
How did you do it? Did you just like have somebody like sitting with a baseball bat next to your desk, be like, "Don't do it"?
I actually found that I had loved the Asura area, and I actually was doing my friend's personal quests with him, so I was going and seeing the Asura personal quests, and so I loved that, and that was super engaging. That was really all I needed for the whole week, and just the zone was probably my favorite zone we've seen to date. I might like the Sylvari one more, but at this point I'm actually questioning that because I love the Asura events. I love their their hearts. I love their jumping puzzle in Metrica Province. Oh my goodness. I was just totally happy.
Richie, she's totally happy. Were you totally happy with the Sylvari? Did you get to do any of the personal story?
I did the same thing Elizabeth did. I myself.
None of us can talk about Sylvari.
You know what?
It's amazing. Let's just talk about the Asura then.
Yeah, well, besides the Char, which the very first time I played the beta, I played the personal story of the Char quite a bit. I've actually just said, you know what, that's where all the story is. That's where all the spoilers are. You know, I'm going to play the content, and have fun, but I'm going to leave the story stuff for launch. You know, I want to keep it fresh.
All right, now that we've seen all the starting cities, at least if you didn't do the personal story, we've seen all the starting cities and the start of the zones and stuff like that. I think we all know the answers to these, but I'm going to start with Liz and say which starting zone overall is basically your favorite now that you've seen everything?
Yeah, definitely the Asura. Although the Sylvari may supplant them.
Supplant them!
Oh, did
wow.
not mean that. Did not intend for that at all. At all.
She had that written down. She had that written down all week.
I didn't. No, I really didn't.
Scott, what was your favorite? What's your favorite overall now that you've seen everything?
Oh, I've got to say, the Sylvari zone was great because it was everything that I hoped it would be, but the Asura zone was much more than I expected it would be. It really blew me away. The Asura is so smart. And I was worried it was just going to be based on that sort of architecture. It's just, oh look, we've got ziggurats and cubes. But it's much smarter than that. It's really distinct, really unique. Lots of things going on. Loads of things you can just get lost in as soon as you start. Just with the characterization is fantastic. There's so much fun. They're all a bunch of stuck-up, know-it-all pains in the backside, but in a really adorable kind of way.
It's true.
And it's the Azura's. I think the Sylvari zone eventually, technically, I think is actually better put together, but for just impact, I think the Azura starting zone, you just can't beat it.
Richie, what do you think?
I haven't played the Sylvari yet, but out of all the other ones, I would pick the Norn. I really like the totem animals, the spirit animal vibe. I like helping out each one of them. So I like chucking snowballs at small children, and of course the Yeti event is there. So. Which I did this time again.
The Yeti is not a lie.
Well, it's kind of still alive. It's not a lie. So I did that again. So I picked Norn.
I'm actually with you. I am torn between Norn and actually Char. I'm not sure which one I'm going to play, but I kind of like both of them. Those are probably my two favorites. I don't know. I love the wintry, snowy areas. I don't know. I think I might.
It's very cool.
I think I might go Norn. I'm not sure, but what about Capital City? Same for everybody. Kind of lumping that in with starting zone.
The Grove.
The Grove's incredible. I'd have to say between the Grove and Divinity's Reach.
I was gonna say I'm still a Divinity's Reach fan myself for the best city.
Me too.
Yeah. Anybody get to check out the new zone, Brisbane Wilds? Anybody get there?
A little bit.
A little bit. What did you think?
It was great. It was very visually awesome. It continued well from, I entered it from the Asura area, so I assumed that it kind of contains elements of the others when you get to there too. I actually headed into that right as Mike Shaftnet was asking me to go into a dungeon with them, so I didn't see a ton of it, but I liked what I saw.
Anybody else?
Nope, didn't make it there.
Richie, I know.
Also,
Go ahead.
it also kind of steps up the level of engagement, so it's something that we've seen kind of across the other zones where the 1 to 15 zone, there's not a whole lot of serious trouble going on, whereas the moment you step into Brisbane, I at least was faced with this thing where the Orion undead were causing havoc, and so you had to deal with them. Again, not like on a huge grand scale, but it was a step up in elevation from the others. So that was good.
What about now, Richie? I know you got to check out the Keg Brawl. You actually did a walkthrough on a Gamebreaker with Keg Brawl. What did you think of the old Keg Brawl?
I was shocked and surprised by it. I started playing that really late at night one night, and that kept me up like 2 extra hours. And I was like, I have to do a video on this. It was so compelling. It was hilarious. The animations are so funny. You spend half of the time on your butt because of, every ability is drop kicking you or smashing you in the head with a keg and knocks you down.
So
and
for people who haven't seen this, and I didn't go back in here to check this out. What are the rules? Like, how does this all work?
It's 5 versus 5 PvP, and it is played on a field of ice. And they launch kegs into the middle of this ice rink, and you have to pick it up and try to bring it back to your own ale master and score points. First team to get to 11 wins. Now, when you play, your action bar is changed with 5 new abilities, and you get 5 different abilities if you're actually holding the keg. So the abilities are like, basically punch, kick, stomp, and then you can pour ale on the floor if you have the keg, and it actually makes it slippery and people slip, and it's team-based PvP like mini game, and it's really well done.
I'm voting for this to be the new esport out of Guild Wars 2. Like, forget structured PvP.
I was gonna say it's almost like take Hutball and make it just simplified and almost fun and goofy. Awesome.
It's like Hutball being played by 8-year-olds who play soccer. Like you have 15 kids who are around the ball. So put Hutball, but do that instead. And I made the mistake because I was going to stream the live the finale, the event on Gamebreaker. I was like, I haven't checked Keg Brawl yet, so I ran over there with about 45 minutes to go. And as soon as I started playing, I was like, oh crap! I should have come in here much earlier, shouldn't I? Because you think mini game, you're just going to pop in, play 15-20 minutes, and that'll be fine. Yeah, I said soccer. It's supposed to be football. Oh god, my brain just snapped. So I went in and I thought it'd just be say 15-20 minutes. That's all you need for a mini game. And as soon as I got engrossed, it was like, this is more than a mini game. This is a maxi game. we got Hutball on ice, and it's ridiculous fun.
Looks amazing.
I think, and I said this in the video I made, I really think that this is a good introductory course to people who want to get into structured PvP but are kind of intimidated by all the mechanics. The goal is a lot simpler, and you have to only worry about a very limited amount of abilities. I think people who want to get into that can really kind of start here and have some fun with it first.
Let's talk, what about the vistas and the jumping puzzles? That's sort of like another new mini game that everybody got to finally check out. What did you guys think of this? I mean, is it a great concept or what?
I thought it was superb.
What he said.
It is. It's really interesting to almost see a platforming-esque style experience come into your MMO. And I only got to do a few of the early ones, like 2 or 3, like in the Asura area and stuff like that. But immediately, like, I felt like I was playing Mario or something. I was like, it's a little less intense. But do you think these are going to get that increasingly difficult later on? They're really going to, like, do you think we're going to start seeing, like, moving objects and timing jumps and, like, bouncing off of things? Like, do you think we're going to see those sort of Super Mario Brothers-esque things?
So
you already see those in the jumping puzzles.
Yeah.
The one in Metrica Province has like time jumps.
I didn't see this one.
So the Metrica Province one is probably the most complex one. So it not only has multiple levels, like there's the ground level that you get to get up to it, and then you go through a gate to the next level up, and then you have to go through that and like attune yourself to be able to go through the next gate, to go up to the next level after that, and then there's one more level until you get to the final stage of it. And there's actually checkpoints because it would be so frustrating if you had to start from the beginning every time you messed up.
Wow.
So it's actually a very complex system as far as just something that isn't meant to be like the heart of the game.
There's one part where there's lightning striking the ground on platforms, and you have to figure out the timing of it and then jump across correctly. Then there's another one where it's a vine like rope walk,
Wind.
and there's gusts of wind coming, and you have to watch for the timing of the wind and then jump in between it. It's that sort of platform game level of complexity to it. And so the great thing was, after smashing my brains against the keyboard doing the WVW dungeon one in the last BWE, the first of the vistas, like in the Grove, and I did all of them in the Grove. That's the first thing I did, was I did all the vistas in the Grove. Are so simple, because I'm like, oh, I've got this knocked down now because I know how to do the more complicated ones. And there really is a skill level it teaches you, but doing the more complex ones, and there's a learning curve from the vistas up to the full-on jumping puzzles. So it was quite surprising, actually. But yeah, especially that Metrica one, because it's above the clouds, and if you've got vertigo and you're looking down the city, and there's a gap, and there's lightning striking down, and there's wind gusting to knock you off, it gets a little bit disorienting.
But super fun.
One of the things that I really loved about Vistas in general is that when you're actually watching the panoramic cinematic view thing, it actually is live footage.
Yeah.
It's not a canned like little video, so you can still see players, you can still see things, and we've already started to see videos come out of people taking that advantage to actually do really funny things. You know, there's the 50 charge jumping off the the diving board at Lion's Arch, and the guy clicks the Vista and records it, and it's amazing. That mechanic alone is going to make so much community driven content just hitting the web. It's a brilliant idea, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people question this at the beginning, and even like when you do it, you just realize like, oh, it's just this nice little thing. It's not really too serious or a very big deal, but there's something just kind of gratifying about it when you get to the end. It's just a little bit of a prize.
Mm-hmm.
I have seen a lot of people complaining that they didn't really want a platformer in their game, and so there are people who want to 100% a map, but don't want to do the vistas, and that, I mean, there's not really a way around it. Like, if you want 100%, you're going to do the vistas. If you don't, like, it either matters enough to you that you're going to do it, or you aren't enough of a completionist that you're going to do it.
Hello, Internet. We will complain
yeah,
about
I know,
anything.
Right? Somebody complained about
We gave you
change.
something new, and they
Who
changed
does
something
that?
in MMO. Let's complain.
Here's more content. I don't want more content.
No.
I didn't want more of that content.
I want the same, so I can try and finish it.
And also, if they'd given really great rewards for completing jumping puzzles, you'd have people complaining, but now I've got to do jumping puzzles because of the reward at the end of it. So I think they kind of went, they didn't want to give you nothing, but they can't give you too much because then you feel compelled to, even if you don't want to. So the middle ground, random item from a chest. Fair enough.
Yep.
Scott, it's the Internet. I'm still going to complain. I'm complaining.
Absolutely.
That's it. This is equal bad. All right, let's talk about. Let's talk a little bit about some PvP. Did you guys check out Legacy of the Faux Fire, the structured
I
PvP
did indeed.
map? All right, Liz, what do you think of the new map?
I thought it was very beautiful. It, as far as I'm concerned, lived up to the whole nostalgia factor, where it wasn't like a direct copy from Guild Wars 1, but it did a lot of harkening back, and it was very beautiful, and it was very easy to navigate, fun to play in. So yeah, I really liked it. I was glad to spend time in it.
Scott, what do you think?
I think it does something really smart by adding that boss, because what people were doing was making the mistake of sending 4 or 5 people out to try and. You got to wait. There's 2 gates in the home base. You got to smash down one of the gates, and then there's 4 single pulls for 2 ranged, 2 melee ghosts. And once you've got rid of them, then you can fight the boss. And what was happening was people were basically sending half their team out and just forgetting the nodes to try and take them, and getting stuck in this bottleneck that you were just defending and knocking them back. What we did on our team, and we actually rocked. It was me and one other caster, me and another Mesmer. I was on my Asura warrior, and we went in and we demolished the gates, and killed the enemy boss with just the two of us. And that left the rest of our team to make sure all the points were still being kept. So they didn't have chance. So you have that tactical, do we want to go for the boss for that 100 points? Or do we want to stick to the nodes, or we're going to be really smart and do both?
Do both, yeah.
So what did you guys see, though?
Yeah.
Did you see the boss NPC getting see much play, or are people pretty much just fighting over the nodes?
I saw the boss getting attacked in almost every single match I played. Whether or not that was successful, people would at least make the initial attempt, then realize, like, oh, we can't commit 4 of our players to this, let's go do other things. And some pretty nice upsets and point swings where someone actually managed to get through without, like, drawing too much attention to themselves and made that successfully. And suddenly we're like, oh, that now puts us in a very different advantage, in a very different situation now. So I saw it being used to good effect. I don't know if everybody did. But, yeah, it was fun. I was playing on, I think, the second night, so people were more used to the idea of the mechanic by then.
Richie, did you get some time info?
I only did 2 matches, and both of them were that map, which was interesting. The only funny thing I had from it is I had this is the first time I didn't know what the mechanics were, but I found my way to the enemy keep by myself, and I did it right when all of the enemies respawned, and they all went out and ran right past me. I was hiding behind the wall, and I saw them all go away. I'm like, oh, this is perfect, and I'm going to go knock down their gate, and it is funny. I'm sitting there whacking on the gate, and then I suddenly hear an announcement saying, the enemy is attacking your gate. I'm like,
yeah.
Wait a minute. If I know that they're attacking my gate, then they must. And I turn around just in time to see them all coming back. I'm like, no. It was funny. I thought I was being all sneaky, but they don't let you be sneaky.
No, they don't let you be sneaky.
Yeah, people don't quite get, I think, because they thought it was a boss, it was going to be like some sort of really big challenging boss that you need to throw lots of people at when you don't. And also, when you get that they're attacking your gate, there's that instinct for everybody to go rushing back to defend it, and
you don't have to.
Points open, yeah, you don't have to. So I think people haven't quite got that. It's not the all important, everybody has to attack or everybody has to defend it, and there's actually a bit of decision making between the nodes, the points, and covering your ground. And too many people just rushing in and just getting bottled. What we did, we'd have a few defending when they attacked, and they'd all attack it, and we just keep on the nodes, make sure we keep the nodes ticking away, and end up winning.
Well, we're going to talk a lot more about PvP and the maps and everything like that on our brand new show called GuildCast. It's live today. That's Wednesday, coming up at 8 to 9 PDT. Coming up next with Ed Park, Matt Sorg, and Karina. So we'll be talking a lot more about PvP on that show, a lot of theory crafting stuff, so stay tuned for that. What about the final beta weekend event, the Hunger Games event?
The Hunger Royale.
The Hunger Royale.
I was sleeping.
Scott, I know you took part in it, as I did as well.
Yes.
Were you just massively, everyone was just massively confused when this first kicked off. Everyone was just like, what is happening? What do we do? I have no idea.
Everybody walks into Metrica province looking up, going, okay, what's going to spawn? Where's the dragon coming? What's going to come? What's this green thing floating in the middle? And then suddenly you're standing there in PvP robes and your shades. You got your aviators on, which looks awesome on Asura, by the way. And it's like everybody's really confused to start, and then you just read. They had a sign, you just read that. It's like, oh, great. And a lot of people did run past that, I think, and didn't realise what was going. What we're doing in sort of the general chat, and why haven't I got this? And I can't shoot anymore. What?
So explain it for people who may have missed it, because I think a lot of people may have, time zones, things like that, have missed the whole premise of what this was.
What it essentially was, the Hunger Royale, which was nice of Arena to say, by the way, Hunger Games, Battle Royale was first. On the Hunger Royale, you get ported into a zone, which is essentially Metrica Province's map without all the mobs in it. And you run around, and you have a new ability bar. You can't switch out weapons or anything. You just have that ability bar. And the first row up to 5 is your rifle. Everybody's got a rifle, and you've got different abilities with that. And the 5th one is you smack people in the face with a gun butt. Now, you have limited ammo on it. When that's used up, you've got to get more, or you can just smack people in the face with a gun butt. Also, while you're running around, there's other abilities, including eat rations, lay down explosive rations, which look like rations, but if the enemy picks them up, they blow up. A shield, reflective wall, and something else. Anyway, so as you're running around, you actually start losing health because you have to eat rations to get your health back up. So you're starving, you're dying from hunger. So it's essentially the Hunger Games Battle Royale. You have to run around and survive as long as you can. Now, after a certain extent, when you got killed, you got turned into a robot, a little robot, and you flew around spotting the enemy. And you could set off a charge that gave a big ping on the map and told your guys where the enemies was. So after like 15 minutes, people are starting to go, oh, and realizing what's going on. And people are just hiding. They're just finding a tree and standing behind it. And then going, oh crap, I can't because I'm dying from starvation.
Dying of hunger.
And it was really, because we were running around a pack of us and somebody just dropped dead from starvation. And then all of us would just pile on him and take all of his ammunition that he dropped on the floor. And, it was really,
It's like DayZ
really
and it's like DayZ. I need beans. Get his gun. Is anybody still not? Are you guys still not with me that like after this event that they are definitely, I think, going to put these events in the game? Do you guys not like look at the tech? Like when this happened, immediately I was like, they can spawn portals all over the area. We jumped through them in 2 seconds, and they created a completely different and dynamic, unique experience, like on the fly. And do any of you still not believe that this is going to happen in live game? Because I still think you guys are nuts. This is happening in game, and they're testing the tech. There's no way they're not going to do this.
I'm hoping that they're at least using the tech to like test it out for other things, and I think it would actually be amazing if they did like at least in the first year like an anniversary of the end of beta events. Like one day there are suddenly ogres in Divinity's Reach again, and the next like a month later, whenever the next anniversary of the beta test is, you're all doing whatever the next one was, the Inquest thing, and then 2 months after that you're all doing the Hunger Games again. I think it'd be fun if they did it for the people who like really enjoyed that. I'm not convinced that they'll actually be doing these exact events again.
Oh, wait, but think about this too, but just think about this. You don't have to do it, right? Like they launched a portal and they were like, hey, go to the portal. If you want to go through, jump in the portal. If you don't want to, they have the tech obviously where they're not like literally porting 100% of the people into this instance. You could just keep going on your way and do whatever. I don't know. I think I'm going to go on a limb and say I think we're going to see these quite frequently. I don't think these are going to just be like once a year or seasonal. Like I think I'm going to say I think you're going to see these like once a month. Or if I think you're going to see like major events happening all the time. But you could do so many things with this.
That's
I think you could do that. No,
what I think was what excited me most about the event wasn't as much the event itself, was what it meant for their live team and what they can do on, as you said, maybe not on the fly, but the things that they can construct for live events is really exciting. This could be their little ace in the hole for, you were thinking about like swanning off, hey, we're going to do another event next week, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do that.
I have been like talking about ideas like this, and we've seen some games, from back to games like, what was that game? Not Horizons, or what was that game? There's been a few games that never even made it to market that were touting that this is going to be like the big portion of the game, right? Like dynamic events that, happen like constantly, and these one-time things where we just do things that are one-offs. And I think that excites gamers a lot, and I always got excited about the concept, and no one has pulled it off. No one has really pulled it off to this scale, and it's kind of funny that they haven't really talked about this at all. They're just sort of like testing it, seeing how people like it, maybe somebody, but they're not really talking about like it being part of the experience.
They have really robust and fancy tools at their disposal. The ability to add content without downtime, the ability to spark these live events simultaneously across servers. And I know that there's kinks they have to work out and different things with the implementation of it. But if they have these tools at their disposal, I agree with you, Gary. They're going
to use them. They're
going to use them, and they're going to blow us away with some really cool events.
So I don't know if this is, not to cut you off, I don't know if this is confirmed. I'm looking at chat. Somebody in chat says on the Guild Wars 2 forums, devs confirmed that they said it took them about 12 hours to construct Hunger Royale. I mean, think about it. They've got the zones there. It's already made. They've got, I'm sure they got tons of our assets for like the clothing. Everyone had the same clothing on, so that was something, an interesting touch, that they put everybody in the same sort of track uniforms, the same sunglasses. And then they just have to come up with a couple abilities, and they limit it, and then they just put some parameters around it and tell you like, hey, here's your game. And they they can almost come up with so many of these things, but one-off events of specific encounters and dragons and things like that maybe will never happen again could easily be done. Things all kind of. You start thinking about like this is going to be probably one of the first games that could probably pull this off, and I'm almost amazed that they're not even talking about.
They're not even advertising it.
I wonder why. Yeah. I mean, do you think that they're like not sure whether they can pull it off, or do you think that?
I think it's just more to focus in the message before launch for people coming in. You don't want to just have a scattergun approach to look what you're going to get from our game. Mm-hmm. Look at all the different things. There's already a lot of different facets to the game that could be a bit overwhelming to a new MMO player. So I think that this is something that they'll focus on post-launch, and for people who are already brought into it, or to add something extra to bring more people in. Mm-hmm. So it is true. Yeah, it's a 12 hours. I think Gildy was saying that John Peters was in an area and they were chatting, and he actually mentioned that. So that is pretty staggering, really.
I just imagine though, even though like this could be a great tool though for even though there's no monthly fee, and we see like a lot of companies want to sort of use a 30-day cycle to kind of keep the carrot on a stick dangling for that sub fee. This still could be a great way that on a monthly basis they're announcing somehow this event, and to kind of keep you engaged. And even if you step away from the game for a week or two, you might kind of like mark on your calendar, oh wow, that sounds really cool, I'm gonna make sure I log in that night because they're gonna do some crazy cool event that's never gonna happen again. Would definitely, I don't know. It's actually one of the most exciting things I think that's like intrigues me the most about the game right now.
And on the 12 hours thing, the way that these guys have been planning everything so meticulously, if that's true, then to me they've done that in 12 hours to prove they can do that sort of thing in 12 hours. Mm-hmm. To show that the flexibility and power they've got with those tools to just create events in a short time that are going to involve a lot of people. And it was optional. I mean, if you didn't want to play it, you could just go and use one of the warp points, the waypoints, and it would take you out of it completely. So it's pretty interesting where they could go with it, and what they did at the weekend, which was basically a bit of fun. And they did that in a short time, but could do it for so many players at once. It's intriguing how far they could go with this.
All right, next up, gotta stop and pay some bills really quick. I want to tell you guys about Netflix. We have a 30-day free trial going on, so if you guys haven't checked it out yet, go to netflix.com/GamebreakerTV. You sign up for your free 30-day trial. No questions asked. This is for their streaming service. It's $8 a month after if you want to keep it. If you don't like it, you can always cancel it any time, but I am sure when you try it, you're going to love it. If you have not checked it out, this is their service that you can stream to your desktop, your PS3, your Xbox, your iPad, your iPhone, almost every kind of electronic device, your Android, everything. So anything they have in the streaming service, you can stream. About to start watching Breaking Bad.
Season 4 went up for Breaking Bad last week.
I know. I'm about to start. Wow, is everybody with me? Like, does it seem like Breaking Bad? Like, I know a lot of people watched it when it was on, but like, I see more and more people like on my Facebook pages and stuff going like, I can't believe I slept on this. Best show ever. Mm-hmm. I feel like it's almost like Firefly, like it's catching up to itself now, and more people are like finding out what an amazing show it was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm actually one of those people because I just couldn't watch it live at the time. They started going, I just wasn't able to, and then I've basically waited for the fourth season to come on so I can watch it all in a block. Because I've been wanting to watch it for like a year or two, but just didn't want to struggled to have to buy it for DVD. So now I can just watch the whole thing, and then soon catch up to the fifth.
Mm-hmm.
Can't wait. Check it out, Breaking Bad. Let's see what they've got. They just added season 4 to the streaming service. It looks like they have every single season up here. What season are they on? So this is season 1.
5.
Which is supposed to be the last one.
It is. It's the last one. Season 5.
There you go. Check it out. You got to catch up. There you go. Season 1 right on Netflix. Go to netflix.com/GamebreakerTV. Sign up for your free 30-day trial and check it out. If you haven't checked it out, you got 30 days to watch. You could easily probably watch all 4 seasons in 30 days.
Oh yeah, I watched it in like 2 weeks.
There you go.
I just started watching it like a month or so ago. So
there you go. Just check out the free trial and go watch the entire thing in like 2 weeks. All right, so Scott, ArenaNet have answered our prayers. Let's see if they have pleased Scott
What
Hawks.
praise would that be?
All right, so we talked at length about how guilds worked in Guild Wars 2 and the guild system specifically. We kind of talked about how it was seemingly lacking a little bit, ironically, in a game called Guild Wars 2, that the guild system was a little bit...
Elizabeth is going to throw the law book at your head in a minute.
I am. It's not called Guild Wars because of guilds. It's called Guild Wars because of an irrelevant bit of history that nobody knows or cares about.
I don't
Now
care,
you know.
but I don't care. It's called Guild Wars! It's called Guild Wars, and we make guilds. And thanks for the lore update.
My pleasure.
But we got good news. It looks like they're taking the first steps to actually going towards fixing this. So basically what's going to happen now that we know of is new guilds are going to cost 1 silver to create. And you're going to have an initial 50 membership cap. Are you sad?
And when I first logged in, I created a guild, and he said, well, for a start, you can much easier see now how many people are in your roster and how much up to your limit there is. Thank you. That's much better. And also, when you want to represent your guild, you haven't got to step down from your guild before representing another. You can just click represent and switch over. That's better too. But when I saw there was 50, I was like,
This is a step backwards.
what? I said, right, 100 wasn't enough, and you've gone 50. Are you just trying to take the mick? And then I went to the guild registrar, and what it is I'll just read out. So it's a silver to create, a silver to go from 50 to 100, 10 silver to go from 100 to 200, and then from 200 to 300 and 300 to 400, it's a gold apiece. And then from 400 to 500, it's 2 gold. So to go from 0 to 500, it will cost you 4 gold and 12 silver. Now, I have seen people complain about that too. Oh, and also you need to have enough. You can't just do it if there's only 10 people in your guild and expand it to 500. You have to have enough members in your guild to warrant that. I have seen people complain and say, hey, but now we've got to, I can't start right off. I'm going to have, say, if I've got 400 people in my current guild, I'm going to have them farm for cash and ask them. I don't want to ask them to have to farm for cash and donate and so on. I can kind of understand that, but I think from where we were to where we are now is a massive improvement. It's so much better. Yes, it'll take you a little bit of time to farm together the copper, but it's like, is it 80 copper, I think? For everybody in a 500-person guild to make enough something,
which is
something very small.
Not bad.
Yeah, I mean, how
It's not
hard is
much
that
at
going to
all.
be? And shouldn't that be what guilds are all about? I mean, working together towards something? And this doesn't seem like it's an unachievable goal, like in a very short amount of time.
And it's also, it's not a case where like a guild master feels that they're having to ask their guild to donate. The guild knows that this isn't something frivolous. The guild knows that we have to put all this together to have the size of guild. ArenaNet is telling them they have to donate. It's not the guild leader doing that. Some people have said, well, maybe people buy gems to get the gold, and they're maybe nudging them in that direction. Maybe, but I still think you can have a 500-person guild on the first day.
Yep.
Pretty easily.
Yep.
If, again, other people have said, look, we've got a 1,000-person alliance because of Guild Wars 1. It's still not enough. If we had an alliance chat, maybe that'd be better. And they have said that if that's deemed necessary, later on they'll look at that. That being a possibility of opening up guild communication and so on between. That'd be cool. But they're going to wait. And from what it was Curtis Johnson who said on the official forums that they're worried about having people who've got 20 people in a guild and got a 500-person guild, for what that means for the server stress and the rest of it. That seems to be their main intent. They're worried because it's so easy to be in a guild. You're going to have spam invites all over the place. So you're going to be sitting there with people just trying to get 500 people in their guild for whatever reason. If they're confused and think they can get more influence that way, which you can't, I don't think. There's a barrier to how much influence you can get depending on the first people to do it rather than the size of your guild. That might be why. But I honestly think for such a quick turnaround on where we were to what we've got now, we've got to be pretty happy.
That's all a side effect of the whole multiple guild system. You know, like Scott was saying, like the ability to be in as many guilds as you want and have that you can just have so many people just creating them on a whim, and it could just clog the system down. So I like the requirement of having to have the members in order to make it bigger.
Yep.
And where some people might argue against the gold, it's really not that much. If you really need a 500-person guild, it's so much better than having it be like influence-based, where you're going to actually wait a period of time before you can do it. Like Scott and Elizabeth said, you can do it the first day if you really, really need that many spots. So overall, this is good. This is the right direction we need to go in.
But still, please, Alliance chat. Just saying.
Yeah.
She was praying. She was praying while you were talking about Alliance chat. She was just like, "Oh, Guild Wars 2 gods, please
Oh
give me
Lord,
oh,
bless now this Alliance chat."
Most of the problems, I think, have been taken care of this. The problem that remains is for people from Guild Wars 1 going to Guild Wars 2 who've got full alliances. People who have got 1,000, slots. You got 10 guilds of 100 each. Those people have got problems. And if you just had an alliance chat, that would solve it very quickly. So that last issue could be solved with that. But we're not going to get it now. Not for launch. It certainly doesn't look that way. Not from what, say, Curtis Johnson said on the official forums. It's not going to be in for launch. If it's needed later, they'll put it in, but they're going to wait and see from the looks of it. So you guys who play Guild Wars 1, who had these massive alliances, it's going to be a bit difficult, I think. But the majority of people, I think this fixes virtually most of the issues I had with it.
What do you guys think? Leave a comment below and let us know what you think of the new guild system in Guild Wars 2. It is called Guild Wars, right, Liz? They should have good guild functionality because it's called Guild Wars. Leave a comment below and let us know. All right, this next segment is sponsored by lolking.net. For all your League of Legends database needs, head on over to lolking.net. Check it out. All right, next up, John Peters made some words on the official forums this week. First up, he had this to say. He said, if you look at the number of balance changes from BWE2 to BWE3, it's fairly significant. But that is really just one of us working for about a week hard on balance. In the upcoming weeks, we have multiple designers. And a chance to focus on balance full-time for multiple weeks. So you're going to see a much larger set of changes and focus on every profession. So, I mean, if we're taking him literally, this one guy, he kind of made a lot of changes to that patch, didn't he? I don't know. How do you guys feel about the state of the balance in the final beta for final weekend?
I didn't come across any great issues. I have to say I wasn't in PvP an extensive amount. I was in there a bit, but not a huge amount, and I was poning face with my rifle warrior, and I enjoyed that. That was great. So I can't really comment that much, but yeah, we're still a month out. There's going to be the last minute tuning and balancing that you would expect. Now that pretty much you would expect everything that's going to be in the game in regards to the play of it is there, it's going to be much easier for them to tune everything, I would think. So wait and see, I guess.
Liz, how did you feel? Rich, good.
I was going to say, we've talked about this before. Balance is never going to be finished. They're going to continually work on it, even post-launch. I think they have a lot of data now to pour through from this last beta weekend. It sounds like they're going to bump up the number of people that are working on it from 1 to more than 1. And I think it's in a pretty good place. It's hard to judge right now. I mean, no one's, where a lot of people are still just leveling up and looking at the world and going, ooh, shiny over there. And it's really maybe just the people that hit SPVP like all weekend long. Maybe those guys will have a better sense of it. But nothing blatantly standing out to me at this point.
Liz, what do you think of the balance overall? You're muted.
Muted.
Saying words.
All right, I played in structured PvP as both a guardian, mesmer, and a thief, and I had a great time in both of them and was able to handle myself in a variety of like 1-on-1 versus 1-on-2, 2-on-2s, sort of just every range of fight very well on all 3 of them. So I was feeling pretty good about balance. It still has a way to go. and I'm sure that many people found many imbalances that I was not aware of, but it felt pretty good.
This next statement by John, I'm really glad that he pointed this out. This was an important one for everybody to remember. He said, this is not a released game. I repeat, this is not a released game.
News to me.
We are not nerfing any builds. We are not buffing any builds. We are balancing an unreleased game so that it might be closer to balanced when it does release. Try to not get too attached to anything because it skews your feedback on changes that are often going to be necessary. Good advice. Unless they nerf your Guardian, right, Scott?
Back off. Back off.
Just step away, man.
Step away from the nerf bat. Leave the Guardian alone. It's fine, thank you very much.
Scott, you got to play with a lot of classes and weapon sets at this point. So what have you really fallen in love with? And let me guess.
Guardian. And for the Guardian, for support, Mace Shield with a staff switch. For Warrior, Rifle with between Axe and I like the Sword as well. I'm still for the Switch set. I'm not quite sure yet on the Warrior, and then just lots of other things really. There's just too much. You can do so much with the different professions, with the different weapons. There's so much you can do with them, and I'm still exploring. Still a long way from really getting it, nailing down my favourites for every profession. Long way away from that.
So basically, buff Guardians. Liz, what about you?
Yes.
I had a lot of fun on my rifle, hammer, split, warrior, or I'm sorry, not rifle, longbow, although I switched in the rifle occasionally, and my dagger, pistol, thief. Super fun, super fun, super fun. Yeah, so yes, enjoying that a lot.
That might be a better name for the show instead of Shake Weight. Super fun. Super fun.
Super fun.
Super fun.
Super fun.
Richie, what about you?
I've decided to be a warrior come launch. Finally, I was going back and forth between elementalist and warrior. I really like the warrior. I actually like the hammer quite a bit. Now, like I said, I haven't done much PvP yet, but I love the hammer.
I'm not fast enough. Liz does all these great moves behind her. She gets excited. I try and cut the camera fast enough. And put her,
so much.
She just gave me like, ah! She was like,
so great. It's fun. I'm like,
so
yay,
happy.
The warrior. Woo. The hammer.
And then I cut to her. She's like,
my favorite weapon.
She hides.
She hides.
What's going on here?
So you're going warrior?
So I like warrior and I like the hammer. I think the hammer is really cool. And one of the Hall of Monument rewards is a really cool looking big icy hammer thing. And I can't wait to smack. Oh, I just lost my tongue down my throat there for a second. And I want to smash things like that.
I don't know what I'm going to go. You know what I've surprisingly I may have had the most fun with was the engineer.
Engineers are cool.
I had a lot of fun with the engineer. I don't know. I'm still torn. I don't know. I'm just a mess. I'm all over the place. I'm gonna roll like 20 characters like day one. Just play with like
Yep.
it'd be like level. I'll be like level 2 on everything, and you guys be like
Yeah,
level 50.
army of level 5s.
Yeah, I'm
Yep.
so indecisive.
ArenaNet are gonna just love you with you.
I know, right?
Buy new slots.
Get like 15 character slots on launch day. I'm like, oh, there's what, $100, however many.
One quick note from our producer. He says, ArenaNet, please give the torch to more classes because he thinks they're really cool.
He loves setting things on fire. He loves running around with the Guardian and setting things on fire, whereas I love running around as a Guardian and being set on fire. So I think he might have got it the right way around.
Finally, John had this to say. He said, we do not only balance for PvP, we do not only balance for WW, we do not only balance for PvE, we balance for the game. When we make a special balance change for a specific part of the game, we will let you know by splitting the skills. Otherwise, every balance change is there for the whole game. Balance in control, support, and damage are equally important to all aspects of the game, and we are not ignoring that, which makes perfect sense. I mean, this totally makes perfect sense. It all sounds incredibly difficult. I'm not sure how they actually make this happen. It's a lot of math. And I think, when we first started looking at Guild Wars 2 way back in the day, it almost looked like when we saw the UI that 10 abilities on your bar, you might have thought it was easier to balance because it just felt a little bit more stripped down. But I think with how customizable we're seeing how the game actually is, I mean, it actually doesn't it. Would you guys agree that it actually feels like there's more than 8 classes?
Yes.
Yeah. For me, as a Guild Wars 1 player, the supposed simplification when we first started looking at it, I was like, oh, there are no second profession choices. Like, of course it's going to be so much easier to balance and so much more straightforward, and it's not necessarily, but there are many pitfalls taken away by the lack of secondary profession. But yeah, it's been interesting to see the complexity of it evolve.
I have a feeling we're good.
I was gonna say I like way back when the first beta weekend when they just kind of put in the trait system for the first time, and like you even hear comments from the devs saying like we had all the skills and they were all balanced and traits changed everything, and like traits is like this mega complicated system that they put in and have been trying to work with the last 6 months. And I think if you go from that perspective, that traits is still relatively new. It's come a long way, and yeah, they have their work cut out for them. And balance, like I said, is very difficult. But it is not an easy system that the 10 action bar thing makes it seem.
Not
it's much
at
more
all.
complicated than that.
So much more complicated. I think we are going to be talking about balance for a very long time on this show. A very, very long time.
Yes, we are.
Really quickly, if you guys like this episode of GuildCast or any of the other shows we do here on Gamebreaker.tv, we do accept donations, and a lot of what we do are run on donations. If you go over to Gamebreaker.tv, there's a little donate button up in the top right corner there. You can click on it, send us $1, $5, $10, whatever you can spare, and all of it goes back into making this possible. And thank you to everyone out there who has donated. Thank you so much. All right, let's do some viewer questions. We got over 50 questions this week. 50 questions on Facebook alone. You guys, we posted on Facebook, like Gamebreaker TV. So you want to? I guess it's kind of a popular
We're answering
game.
all of them right now.
No, yes, we're not. We got over 50. We took 4. So
I've got my sleeping bag. So.
Yeah. Let's do it.
Yeah, 3 a.m. Guardian.
That actually could be a fun show, though. Maybe one time we should just take just a marathon.
Let's do a sleepover.
A marathon.
GuildCast.
A marathon of questions. Just a Q&A for as many hours as we can, and just keep doing questions. Guardian.
Just put like a spotlight so we've been interrogated by the end of it.
Yeah.
No more. I can't answer another question on balance.
It'll be like Clockwork Orange. I'll be like holding your eyes open.
Toothpicks.
All right. First up from James Seaboth. James says, "Do you think people will be able to adapt well to the end game not being a gear treadmill? At least not a gear treadmill in the traditional sense." Richie, what do you think?
I think people are going to be surprised by it and love it. I think that some people are going to be skeptical about it until they actually try it and see what it's like. Some people just can't wrap their brain around it. They have to reprogram how they think if they've been playing a lot of these MMOs with the gear treadmill. And I do think that things like this are subjective. There's some people that are going to love the fact that they can jump in after being gone for a couple weeks and not feel like they have to catch up or they're so far behind or anything like that. And there's going to people that really want that gear progression. So I think overall the community, once they get their hands on it, is going to really like seeing this. And I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing more MMOs start taking this upon their design.
Liz, what do you think?
I've seen a lot of people saying that they want some sort of reward, not understanding that gameplay plus shinies is in its own sense a reward. So it's really about kind of like what Richie said. It's about what people want from a game. If they want that sense of I am the ultimate power in the universe and I'm cooler than everybody else because I've worked harder than everybody else and I can whoop their butts. Skill is what that's for. Like skill gives you that.
There's actually, if you want to think about that, I can think of a really good article written by a certain Richie Procopio that's up on Gamebreaker if you do search for it, that's about skill versus gear. So maybe if you were interested in that subject, you could do a quick search on Gamebreaker and go there. Plug, thank you, bye.
Thanks for the plug. But
You're welcome.
But it is I think it's a totally valid question. I had 1 or 2 friends actually hit me up after the beta weekend and say like, the one thing I'm a little bit confused by is I'm not sure how I feel about. I'm not sure what the sense of accomplishment is going to be at that level. So, and they weren't sort of saying like, "Oh, this game is just crap and it's not for me." They're more like that, but they were concerned by it because they are so used to having that feeling of like, well, what am I working towards at that point? Like they want, I think there's, you know, and I think a lot of players just want that feeling, and it's not a bad thing. Like we shouldn't look at it as like, "Oh, you guys are stupid and this is new school and that was old school," and you did, but I think there just is that innate feeling for a lot of players that are just wondering, like, well, I at least want to be working towards something. What am I working towards then? And
there's an understandable hesitance about it because this isn't a model that's been used time and time again, and it's not the standard model. People are used to an MMO, you level up, and at the end of it, you're on a gear grind, and that's how you differentiate between you and other players. Look, I've done this raid more times than you, and completed it more successfully. Therefore, I have this gear, and you can see I have it. So that gives me more power when we're out in the world than you have. That's the paradigm, and this isn't going to be that. So because we don't fully know what it's going to feel like at end game at the max level, so we can't fully understand it yet because we haven't experienced it yet. So it's perfectly reasonable for people to be hesitant about it, but I think just dismissing it as being that's not good is as silly as going, well, it's better than doing it better than a gear progression. I prefer it to gear progression, but I'm looking forward to experiencing what it's actually going to be like at that level.
And you gotta
go for it.
I was gonna say you gotta analyze what is your base incentive for playing. Like what is that thing that keeps you motivated? And if you're stripping that down, and is it really that the item that you're getting has plus 10 more to strength or intelligence? Is that really what's driving it, or is it because you need that power in those games to unlock the harder dungeon, to see more content, to actually get gear that looks cool, to get an achievement or a title? So if it's all those other things, then Guild Wars 2 is no problem. But if it's really all you want to see is your little floaty numbers above your head get larger and larger as you get more gear, then this might not work for you. But we've seen this work in Guild Wars 1, and it works really, really well. People have been playing that game for 7 years, and they hit max level very quickly and got the best gear in the game.
6.5 years ago.
Yeah, and they've got the best gear in the game a long time ago. So I've been on this soapbox before, and I've said it before, but I think that people are going to need to play it to really understand it fully if they're still skeptical.
I think that one of the more valid complaints I've seen is people saying that, okay, so I want to show people I'm cool, but if I don't like the way that the one legendary type of my weapon looks like, what's my incentive? Like, aside from having something I don't like looking around, it doesn't give me a better statistical advantage, but it lets other people know that I'm really awesome. So it goes back to, like, why are you doing it? But so for some people, like, if they aren't all that inspired, if they find a set of max gear that isn't rare, but they really like the aesthetic of, what do they have is the question that has been posed to me, which is a fair thing. If you're not motivated by the aesthetics of the top gear items, then you don't have that treadmill and you're playing for other reasons.
And there is, you can actually, as far as I understand, correct me if I'm wrong, some of the cool gear, that you can't wear until later, you can purchase and still take the image of it. I think I read a dev say that.
Oh yeah,
yes.
Transmutation stones.
So yeah, you could purchase it, use transmutation, and have it at like much lower levels for all your gear. So what people might say is, well, then I'm not leveling up to get the cool looking gear, and that was my idea. So of what was going to make me cooler because I'm at a higher level. So there is that. It's down to what do you enjoy about the game, and is that still present without that system?
Mm-hmm.
They want to solve everything. They could just put Pizza Boomerang into Guild Wars 2. That could be your ultimate achievement.
Oh dear me.
All right, I'm gonna move on. Next up, this is from Andrew Rennie. Andrew says, "Have we heard anything more about authenticators? I'd love to have one from launch, but it's not looking likely." Have we heard anything? Nothing, right?
No.
Nothing.
And they need it.
They do need it.
All right.
I like authenticators.
I don't know if the gem system is making them think it's not as necessary because there's not going to be as many gold farmers or something.
Still necessary.
I think that's wrong. It's still absolutely necessary. And I very much hope we'll get authenticators too.
Stay safe, whoever's got the cops outside. All right, next up, this one from David Wilson. David says, lots of complaints about starting armor all being human in design. Do you think ArenaNet will fix this before launch, or will players be forced to endure immersion-breaking design until level 35? Liz.
So when you have an aesthetics-based gear treadmill, the downside to that is you start with really, really, really crappy-looking armor that is all the same and has no distinction, because what would be the point if you had cool armor from the get-go and you're like, oh, well, I just wear this for the next 15 levels? Like, the whole point is, if cooler looking stuff is the reward, then you have to, like, really, really want it. I agree that it, like, I really didn't like my Sylvari starting armor at all, so I worked as quickly as I could to get something else, because I wanted her to look more Sylvari-ish.
I will say then, working as intended.
Yes.
The system kind of works, right? Because you were immediately like, this looks like crap. I have to get out of this. Let me start working
like,
getting out of these
things. So yeah, I understand it's a totally valid complaint that it looks really crappy for every single race to have the same exact armor when you start off with, but there's a reason for it. I'm not saying it's a great reason, I'm just saying it's a reason.
You know what's interesting about this feedback and this question is because think about all the other MMOs you play. You know, the armors, you pick up a piece of armor and you know that armor is going to look relatively the same no matter what race you are. I mean, there's some exceptions if you have horns or hooves or whatever, but this feedback is interesting because I think ArenaNet has made the races so varied and so distinctive that when you actually make, you know, a Sylvari with tree branches and all this flowing stuff, and then you put on a suit of chainmail, it actually kind of looks, kind of looks a little off. And so I think that's more of a testament to how well that they've designed these characters and these starting cities that actually makes this armor feel a little bit off-putting. And the great news is there are those cultural armors that actually make you fit in with your races. And like Scott said, you don't actually have to wait till level 35 to wear them. You can actually
so you have
buy
4
them.
Gold and a bunch of transmutation stones.
You use the transmutation stones, and you can actually look like the cultural armor much earlier than that. So yeah, I think it's just a testament to how well they designed the characters that they actually get feedback like this.
Yep.
All right, last up, this one from Darlene McCormack. Darlene says, did anyone else think Rata Sum should have been larger? You pan out and you see this large cube, but only to get a small corner of that cube. What do you think, Scott?
I think that if it had been much bigger, you would have been getting lost in it, but not in the good way. You would have just been walking around confused and going, ah. You would have been... It's down to having scale and content, and it feeling that those two fit together well. If you have if you had Ratasum that was the full size of that cube on the map, you just wouldn't. You'd be going, okay, let's put in the 25th lot of trade skill training, and you know, and we've got to come up with another mini game or something. You know, there's plenty in there. It's a really good size. The scale to it, the scope. It looks majestic, but it's not so big that it's just completely it becomes pointless, like ridiculous. I mean, find many bigger cities in MMOs. Go on, I dare you. And you know, they're big enough. There's plenty of content in them, but it's not. Then you would start having copy pasta going on, and that's something that Guild Wars 2 has an advantage, and it doesn't have that. You'd lose that handcrafted sense to it if you made it much bigger, I think.
Yeah, this needs to be bigger is not something I thought when confronted with any of the capital cities. Like, they do not need to be any larger. They are good.
Do you think you think we're ever gonna get to put the mothership back together and fly off to space? Because that's really what I want to do. I want that cube to just take off.
Yeah, they have hovering technology.
We're aliens, man. It's like the Death Star. It fell out of the sky. It's a ship. Let's fix that puppy and get on our way. Let's get off this rock.
They're from underground. They're just building it and drill back down.
Just drop it into a hole in the
Cubes don't come out of the ground.
They get built by very smart, very tiny scientists.
I'm gonna fly it. Stop with your lore. Stop being smart.
Gary's guild airship is going to be Ratasnoom.
Exactly. Elizabeth Clare, follow her on Twitter at Elizabeth Clare, and of course go over to massively.com and read her wonderful, amazing work over there every single week. It's at Elizabeth Clare with an X.
Yes.
Richie Procopio, follow him at Richie Procopio, not with an X, just Richie Procopio, and go over to Bog Otter, his youtube.com/BogOtter. Check out all his great work, and of course on Gamebreaker.tv as well. And on Scott Hawks. You can follow him on the Twitter at Jarimor, Jarimor.
And go to ryanveneer.blogspot.com. Blogspot? Blog that thing. I just made it in over there.
Wow, what are you getting paid for plugs now from Ryan Vernier?
Yeah, I'm just plug-tastic today.
You gotta change that contract. All right, you can follow me, Gary Gannon, and you can follow Gamebreaker TV at gamebreaker.tv. We're changing the day and time of GuildCast, and of course our new show BuildCast, which is coming up live right after this, both now on Wednesday. GuildCast will be Wednesdays at 6 to 7, and BuildCast, our PvP and theory crafting show, will be from 8 to 9. So check those out, and make sure to check out BuildCast this week. All right, gang, we will see you. Have a great week, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah, I noticed that they're an hour apart, but BuildCast starts in 20 minutes.
Yeah, good luck with that.